Hey everybody, I am here today with Jeff Smith. You're out of Dallas, North Carolina, and you drive a super late model now, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, and tell us a little bit about your family has been in racing for a long time. You are, I believe, the third generation, is that correct?
That is.
Yes, and tell us a little bit about your dad and your grandpa.
My grandfather, he was more of a car owner than a driver. He tried it a couple of times. My grandpa was one that he had a lot of one-liners, and I questioned him about his driving career being short, and he said he had back problems. And I was like, back problems? I had never known you to have back problems. He said it was a yellow streak about that wide. He said I couldn't stand to be in the seat. But he enjoyed building the engines and building the cars, and he had other people drive for him before Dad started. And then when Dad started, he took the seat and held it until he moved on, and then Grandpa started helping me when I started.
Well, and your dad, of course, is the famous Freddie Smith. He's, I believe, isn't your dad in some Hall of Fames somewhere?
Yeah, he's in a few. He's in, I think, the Tennessee, the National Dirt Late Model, the City of Kings Mountain. There might be a couple other I'm forgetting. That's the ones that stand out in my mind.
Well, and I love how you really honor your family. I'm sure you grew up in this just like I did, but part of honoring your family, you put on, I believe it's you, or maybe it's your dad, but the Gracie Smith Memorial every single year. You've been doing it at Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina, or is that where it's always been?
No, when it started, I believe it was at Lawndale, actually, up at Thunder Valley, and the guy that was promoting the track, he was a friend of Dad's and a big fan, and they wanted to put it on up there, and it was there the first several years, and then they moved it over here to Cherokee, and then it became sanctioned by Lucas Oil several years back. They pretty much handle it. The first several years, the family was kind of involved in the pre-ceremony stuff leading up to the race, but the last several has just kind of been an event that just honors my grandfather's name.
Yeah, well, honestly, to be able to hand that off and to even get it to a bigger audience has got to be a bit of a win for you.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's one of the premier national series, and there's a lot of coverage on it, so it's cool to see my grandfather's name out there like that.
Absolutely. So I do have a question for you. Your green has been your color as long as I've known you, and there is a thing in racing where green is an unlucky color. Apparently it's lucky for you, but tell me how you arrived there. I know it's a totally oddball question.
I like that color, and actually when my dad was driving for Christenberry Farms, Clayton's son Gusty, he had a car that had some green on it, and it was white and green and black, and I was like, that's a pretty cool combination there. And so we kind of worked it up, and Jimmy worked up something for us, your brother, and we've stuck with it most of the time since then. There was a couple of years here recently when I switched to my dad's number and ran it for a few years that we got back to the red, white, and blue, and I did one car that was yellow and white. People don't remember my dad had a yellow and white car one year, so that was kind of a throwback to him. But probably since around 2001 or 02, I've had green on my car most of the time.
Well, if you don't go with that superstition, I know another superstition is no peanuts. So I'd be curious if that's a superstition you follow, or are there other superstitions that you as a racer have around your pit?
I try to steer clear of the peanuts at the racetrack. That and a $50 bill, that seems to be a thing that I want to stay clear of.
I saw somebody asking for change earlier. They were asking for a change for a 50. I just never liked 50s. They're just weird.
No, it's just one of those superstitions, I suppose. The green doesn't bother me, but the peanuts and the $50 bill, I'll steer clear of them if I can.
Well, you are, since we're saying numbers, you are the 70, excuse me. I don't know where I got 00 out of. Apparently I'm camera. Okay, maybe that's where I got it from. But then how did you get your number, the number 70?
That was actually the number my grandfather had on his cars in the beginning, and my dad started out with that number. But back in the day, they were, when they first started going over to the old Concord Motor Speedway, they wouldn't let two cars have the same number, and there was a guy there that had 70, so they just duct taped an L to the 7, and he was 00 from then on. So
yeah, we'll just walk in front of the camera. No, we'll just keep going though. You never know what happens on live video. It's hilarious. Well, Going to the track, you're supported by some amazing people in your life. Do you want to give a shout out to some of the folks that come out to the track with you?
Oh, that's my wife and my sons and my crew that's been with me for a long time. Most of them travel a good ways to get here. Our sponsors, Langley Collision, Smoking Mountain Boys Barbecue, Mark Mincer Motorsports, Clark's Flooring. There's a whole group of people that make all this possible. My product sponsors, FK Rod-Ins and VP Fuels, and the list just goes on and on. I couldn't, without each one of those companies helping out, I wouldn't be able to do what I do.
Well, I'm glad that you do what you do. And one last question. If people are looking for you online, where could they find you? Are you on Facebook or website or Instagram? Tell us where people can find you online.
We have a website, jeffsmith-70.com. I do have a Facebook page. You can find me there. I'm not on Instagram or Twitter. That's something that you need to work on with me there and get me up to speed. But
no problem. I just want to make sure that fans can find you. So thank you so much for your time and good luck this evening.
all right, thank you.